All right, so it sounds like that solenoid is not making contact. Hi there, this is Ray with Easy Simple Mechanic, and today we're going to work on this Miller 225G welder generator. See if we can't get it going. It's been sitting around. If you saw the previous video, it came off of that service truck that we did some work on. Anyway, I had been getting quite a few calls or a few messages about doing more content on these Miller generators or generators in general, welder generators. A lot of welders interested in fixing these instead of having to buy new ones. So we'll see if we can't do this one justice and get it going, get it started, get it running, and figure out, you know, what's going on. The complaint is when it was running, it had trouble, I guess, with the governor, or it wasn't keeping up with the welding. So we'll see if we can get that to run first, and then we'll see what it's doing once it's running. We'll have to test it out. Also, I'm going to ask a favor of you. If you're coming in here and you're looking at this, I know a lot of folks don't stay till the end when I asked for folks to like and subscribe. So if there's anything that I ask of you today, please just do a thumbs up, and if you can, subscribe. That way you'll either see the series on this, or if we get this done in one episode, that would be great as well. So let's get started. First of all, let's just get a look around and see what this thing is. As you can see, it's a Miller Bobcat 225G. It looks like it's one of the older models here, at least as far as I can tell. Has all the same general stuff. I guess the welding leads here, the 220 outlet there, the 110s or 115s there. We got our control for the currents up here, and so on and so forth. So we'll see if we can't figure it all out and see what's going on with this unit. On the back side here, this one here does not have the Kohler engine. It has the Onan engine. Let's see if we have something on the other side. Here we go. Onan Performer 16, so that would be the 16 horsepower engine. And then here we got all kinds of information on this thing. So first things first, what I did do before we got started is I went ahead and put the battery charger on this, make sure this battery's charged. This looks like one of the deep cycle batteries or something. It's a huge battery. And when I put the charger on it, it only had like 11 volts on it. It's supposed to be a 12 volt battery. Once it got charged, it only got to 11.6. So we may have a dead cell on this battery, don't know yet. But if it cranks it and runs the generator, we'll be good. Now, it looks like we got our fuel filter here. I don't know how much fuel's in it. It might be a little dirty, but there's no fuel in the filter here, so we'll see if the pump will pull some fuel. I guess the tank fill is on this side. The one that I did last time was up on top. So this one is here. So we'll have to do that. We'll check the oil, make sure it's good. And then what I'll do, because I don't know how long this has been sitting, I'm gonna pull the fuel line off of here so it doesn't start. So I wanna crank it over, and I wanna check two things. We wanna check and see if we've got spark to the spark plugs, to see if it's got spark, and then we gotta see if it's pumping fuel here so that we can see, number one, if it's pumping fuel, number two, if it has any fuel, and number three, if the fuel's any good. So let's get started with that first. In order to get this fuel line loose off the carburetor, you know, we can't just unscrew this one here off the bottom of the fuel pump, because then we won't be able to check the fuel pump and see if it's pumping. So we have to remove the the air filter housing, and it's pretty simple. You just take the nut off the top, and then there's several screws on the inside, you know, that hold it on. There's one down there, one there, and then there's 3 that go on to the carburetor. And then you have this air hose that comes up into the housing. And when you take those off, then you can get in here and see. Then what we'll do is we'll just pull this fuel hose off of here. And that way we can start checking that out. So we'll just go ahead and pull this clamp off of there. We'll loosen the hose. There we are. And so now we've got the fuel hose off of there. So what we'll do is let me get something to put that in so we don't make a mess here. But let me see if we're getting spark on these plugs. So what I'm going to do is just pull the plug wire. There it is. Let me pull that plug. Well, looking at this plug, looks like it's gapped okay. Looks like it's firing pretty good, at least last time it was running. So now let's just plug it in there and we'll see if it's got some spark. Okay, we're ready to see if we have any spark. I'm turning the battery and nothing. It don't cranky. No, nothing. Now, it sounded like it tried to the first time there, but it didn't do anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a peek in this cylinder. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Maybe I can get a light. Well, it looks like the piston's at the top. So one way to tell if this thing is stuck, or if the crank is turning, is we got the cylinder there. Well, let's see. Let me get a flashlight and see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and turn the flywheel right here and see if I can get the piston to come up and down here. See if the engine's locked up. That's the goal. Okay. So I got this screwdriver in here and I'm checking to see if the flywheel is stuck, and it's not. It's able to turn pretty easy. So I'm thinking maybe the starter's not engaging or working too good. Okay, so we know that this is turning. So that's not the problem. So What we got to do is we got to check and see if we're getting power to the starter solenoid, which is on the opposite side of this thing. It's right here. So what we'll do is we'll put a meter on this and we'll check to make sure we're getting a voltage to the coil to close the solenoid contact. Okay, so we got the positive hooked up to the wire coming to the solenoid on the starter, and we have a ground hooked up to the head here on the engine, and then we'll just see if we got any voltage here when we turn the button. There's the button. We got 10.9, 11 volts coming to the solenoid, but it's not engaging. So now what we're gonna do is let's check and see what my voltage is to here to see if we're getting the voltage to the solenoid. And so I just put the power comes straight from the battery. So we're checking here and we got power there. So now, theoretically, if we jumper these across, it should at least make contact across that starter. If not, then something wrong with our starter. So let's get some pliers or something across there. And so I just happen to have those right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna try and go straight across between the two contacts on the starter solenoid here. And it gave me a little spark, but it didn't turn or didn't close or didn't do anything. Okay, so what I did to make sure that we got good voltage to the starter, because that one was only getting 11 volts, is I went ahead and put this battery here and I'm jumpering it over to that battery. And now we can check our voltage here and see what we're getting. We're getting 12.2, so that's more voltage. Now we'll try our little pliers trick again, jumping across the solenoid. So this isolates the solenoid, so the solenoid no longer in the picture when we do this. There we go. It's trying. It's engaging, but it's not spinning it, which is interesting because when you go to the there we go. All right, so it sounds like that solenoid is not making contact. So we're gonna have to take the solenoid off of there. Looks like the starter's working. Since I pulled the spark plug on the other side, I can't really test it to see if it's got spark unless I pull this plug. So maybe we'll do that just to cover the spark plug issue. Let's do that. Okay, so we pulled the other plug out and this one looks like it hasn't been firing. If it has, not very well or very often. So we took a look here at our spark plug wire, which I noticed was kind of sitting over the top of this exhaust manifold. And as we look at it, we can see that the exhaust manifold has burned a hole through the plug wire. So it was probably shorting and not firing anyway. In any case, I keep trying this Bendix and the starter motor spins, but it's not kicking out the gear. So we're gonna have to pull that starter and see if we can't fix it before moving on. Well, instead of pulling this whole cover here, Since my issue is with the starter solenoid, I just pulled this cover here. It's got a bolt right there, and one back in the back over here. You can't really see it. There it is, right in there. And so that allows you to pull this cover off. And then once you get the cover off, you just remove the wires off the back of the solenoid. All the wires, the one that goes to the starter, and then the one that comes from the battery. The battery's right here, and the one that goes to the starter switch and the little solenoid wire. Pull those off, and then there's just 2 screws on the back here, on the back of the solenoid. You can pull those off, and the solenoid comes right off. Okay, we got the solenoid here, and it just has a spring on the inside of the solenoid, right in there. Okay, it has a spring in it, and then it's just the solenoid. Now from the looks of it, the grease on it or whatever is gone. I mean, there's nothing going on there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try and pull this little cover off of here. We're gonna have to see if we can find one. My preference would be to find a solenoid for that. Before we go any further with it though, you know, I would like to see if it is actually gonna be worth doing. Because if it's got other engine problems, I don't know that I wanna spend any money on other parts. So first, let me see if I can find a solenoid for it and see how much they cost. If they're not that much, we'll just get another solenoid. If not, then I'm gonna have to get into this solenoid. But that's about all we're gonna be able to do today. So, well, stay tuned for the next episode where we'll continue to see what happens with this Miller Bobcat 225G. Well, as you can see, it got kind of late on us and a little dark, so video's not coming out too good. So I don't really want to squeeze the other stuff in this episode. So that's going to do it for this episode. Once again, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys on the next one.